Star Citizen is in the news again. This time it's because players have been able to make the jump from the Stanton system into the upcoming system of Pyro in the test environment. What's the deal when other games have been doing this for literally decades? Let's talk. If you can't quite understand what all the hubbub is about, then I can't say I blame you. I mean, Star Citizen has promised 100 systems on release, and yet, after 12 years of development, we have one with another slated for release at some point later on this year. Now, you'd be forgiven for thinking that with the workload that each system entails, these systems are never going to make it out. But that's not what the delay is. There's no doubting a huge amount of work goes into each system. I mean, each landing zone is unique and handcrafted by the devs, there's the moons and all the individual locations, and the level of detail for each system is only going to get bigger as more systems and more gameplay comes online. This is not the point where I tell you that it's all because devs have been working on Squadron 42. I mean, the location guys probably have. But networking staff don't work on a single player game. The problem is with how the servers are going to support Chris Roberts' vision. If we looked at traditional MMO design, we would expect to see one server supporting one system, and travelling between them would be just a graphic or a short video with a loading bar whilst you were moved from one server to the other. Hardly the immersion that Cloud Imperium Games have promised everyone. There's also problems with that design in terms of technical infrastructure. If players all dive into one system because there's a bit of a gold rush for a mineral, or there's a big battle, or players are all heading there for an event, well, there's no real way to support that server. It's just going to struggle. Desync will occur. Players will glitch all over the place. You all know what I'm talking about. We've all played multiplayer games before. Those are the issues that they want to avoid. So one server, one system just isn't going to cut it. This is what they've been working on. They've been trying to alleviate this problem with something called server meshing. Now, Star Citizen has been aiming for no loading screens once you are in the game, and I'm sure if you played Starfield, that will be music to your ears. The idea is once you're in the game, you will go anywhere and do anything without ever seeing another loading screen. Even the jumps between systems are interactive. You're going to have to keep your ship on course. If you hit any of the whirlpools or eddies within that jump, or if you exit that jump tunnel, you're going to get yeeted out into the middle of space, and you're going to have to figure out where you are and get back to civilization somehow. What Star Citizen has been working on developing for all these years is some way of having multiple servers work covering the same location. I.e., you could be stood next to each other on the same server. One of you steps away into another server, but you can still see each other, you can still interact. Now that might sound a little bit like pie in the sky, and I get it. For ages I've been saying on my channel that this has been my biggest fear, that they can't get server meshing to work, because without it, the entire vision falls over. Now, they showed us this working at CitizenCon. What you're seeing on your screen is amazingly impressive. The server is not one server. This map that you're seeing, those different coloured areas, are 3 servers, and you are watching players switch seamlessly between the servers, even shoot, throw objects and drive from server to server, and everyone is still seeing things. For the player, you don't even know they've changed servers. If one of these servers were to crash, all the data is stored in something called the replication layer. So there might be a little bit of a pause and a freeze, but another server will spin up to take its place. No more disconnects, no more 30Ks. And as people pointed out at CitizenCon, it's one thing to see it shown on screen, even if it was a live demo. It is something else entirely for players to get their hands on it and see it in action. Unfortunately, I can't show you any footage. The players that have been able to test it are part of a group called the Evocati, and whilst they're able to talk about their experiences, they're not actually allowed to show any footage or any visuals whatsoever because of the NDA that they've signed. So, unfortunately, I can't show you what it looks like. The good news is you're not actually missing out on much because it's all placeholder at the minute, and I think morphologists describe the junk gate as looking something like a sphincter. Yeah, didn't fill me with confidence either. The good news is, though, that the tech is there. And this is why the systems have been so long in coming, and this is why, for ages, YouTubers, content creators, and members of the community have been saying that it is not about traditional games design, where the delays are people putting maps together and all that sort of nonsense. The issue here is that they've been building all the underlying tech. And it's really hard to do when you don't quite know how your network systems, your servers, are going to talk to each other to communicate that data. So yeah, it's been a delay. 12 years is an awful long time for a game to stay in development. But without that time, Star Citizen just wouldn't exist, because traditional game design could not fit what we needed in game. What we're going to see now is something called static server meshing. So when Pyro comes on, there will be multiple servers. It might just be one system, one server for now. What they're going to move toward, however, is something called dynamic server meshing. And dynamic server meshing is the ability for the game to look at the demand on its servers, and when it notes that one of those servers is being overloaded or getting close to capacity, it will be able to take the area that that server's covering, split it up, bring up another server to basically double the resources in that area. And depending on how Star Citizen do this, this could be done infinitely. The way they've described this for really, really big crowds is, imagine you're in a field with a friend. Now, whether you're 20 meters away or 200 meters away, you're going to be able to see your friend. Well, if that field was now the site of a huge music festival, there's a stage and thousands of people, you're going to know what's going on in your immediate vicinity. But your friend 200 meters away, you might know he's out there somewhere, but you're not going to know precisely where. You're just aware, abstractly, that there are lots of people around you. And until people move into that immediate bubble around you, you won't really know the specifics of what's out there. It's basically describing situational awareness. And this is basically what these servers are looking to achieve, and how Star Citizen could bring a completely new way of networking multiplayer games to the market. It would be entirely fair to be dubious about this technology. It is the first of its type. No game, regardless of what anyone says, is doing this to this scale, this dynamically for a game of this type. And I think even Chris Roberts wasn't sure whether or not they could pull it off. Just watch this next clip about what he said at CitizenCon about the time he first saw it running.
And the first time I saw this, about 3 weeks ago, working fully, I cried. It's like giving birth.
We did it!
If you ask me, that's the face of a man who spent the last 12 years saying that he can do something, everyone telling him that he can't, that he's scamming people, that he's taking people's money and shouldn't be doing it, finally proving them all wrong, and that the tech works. This is why this is so exciting. This tech is why Star Citizen is going to be unlike any other game, and why now we should hopefully see the pace ramp up and more systems added to the game, starting with Pyro this year. If you're looking forward to that and you want more coverage, you know where the subscribe button is if you think I've done a good job. You've been watching Drinkers with Gaming Problems. Thank you very much for stopping by. I'll see you soon.